wait, we're not doing writing sprints. We're launching a book for the Wild Anemone Bakery. The story of Some Anemones Are Blue is the continuation of Milli's story. She started her bakery in Pagosa Cliffs. She's raising her daughter, discovers that baby Emily might be mafia guy Donatella Valtini's daughter. The Valtinis have pulled her back in to do cakes for them again. So she goes to her friend, CSI Katy Housan, who also hates the Valtini family with a passion. And they decide that the two of them are going to take down the Valtinis. I knew that was going to happen the minute I set that up. Hello, lovelies, and welcome to the release of Some Anemones Are Blue, the next in the Wild Anemone Bakery series. Yes, we are taking a trip back to Pagosa Cliffs, and I just want to say hello to everyone who is here. Let's see, let's scroll backwards. Jenna was first. Hello, lovely. And then Jules, thank you so much for sending everyone over from your screen. Hello, author Lauren Adele. Megan is here. She just had a new release. What was it called? The clumsiness, the one about clumsiness. She just did a new blog about how clumsiness helps her discover her disability. If you'll notice at the top, all my links are pinned so that you can see them there. Let's see. Margaret is getting ready for her launch. She will be having a stream right after ours. So we are going to be sure to get there and get that done so that she can get on with hers. Hello, BA. Welcome. I have not seen you in a hot minute. It has been a while. My thing with the migraines and the way it is just completely killed my whole ability to stream and be creative and everything for the last few months has just been, I'm just sick of it. Hello, cool gamer. It is so good to see you again. And my sister Charlie is here. Oh, I love you so much, darling. It is so good to see you. Hello, Laura. In case you did not know, Laura Nettles has a new release called Tiny Shivers, which is all her little short dabbles into the world of horror. And oh, so many cringes. Yes, excellent. And before I forget, Margaret is here, and she also has a book out. So when you go to the May of the Modern streams after this, you'll scroll down in the little information, and you'll see where you can go to Amazon to get Margaret's book. All right. Okay, let's see. Scanning. Yes, caught it before you could come. Yes, I knew that was going to happen. Megan's blog is When Clumsiness Has Consequences, Why I Celebrate a Catastrophe. Thank you, Charlie. And so this is my new book cover. I think it's very pretty. Let me see if I can make it big. Let's see. I think it's very pretty. It is very similar to the other ones. It's not as colorful as the other ones, but this one kind of has, this whole story kind of has a little bit of a darker side to it because Milli, we are going back to Pagosa Cliffs. The whole crew is there. And this book is a parallel to Blue Water and Blue Butterflies, which are my Coach Camille Wallace story. So we're back. Haughty Sheriff Rancher Tank Tanner and broody cowboy deputy Lloyd McConnell are trying to protect Milli and Lloyd's niece Tiana while tracking down the Valtini Mafia threat. But they don't count on Milli and her feisty friend CSI Katy Housan kind of being a step ahead of them. And Milli's, she's living her best life. She and Auntie Elizabeth are living at the Wild Anemone, They've converted it from a bed and breakfast to a catering, full service bakery, caterer, the whole thing. And, Millie's just living her best life. And then she's leaving New York for a cake show. And she runs into not only the personal driver of the Valtini family mafia, who tells her she is to send Dom Valtini his white velvet and frangelico cakes every month, but she also runs into Giovanni Valtini. And he informs her that she will start baking for them again. And there's not even or else, because there is no or else with Giovanni. Giovanni is a stone cold murderer. He's out of prison on a technicality. And then New Year's Eve comes, they pick Millie up, take her to do a cake for them somewhere in Colorado. And Donatello comes in and basically sits down and tells Millie everything about her life in Pagosa Cliffs. So she is freaking out. She is super freaking out. Because basically she's told, neither of us are going to go to prison, even if that means we never get one of your lovely cakes again. So it's terrifying for Millie. And Millie has to make a choice. Yeah, there is, no highway option there. It is Giovanni's way or no way. And so this whole story is basically Millie facing the monsters of her past, facing the Giovanni and Donatello and the Valtini Mafia, and is she going to stay their meek little baker, or is she going to help and just help Katy try to bring the Valtini Mafia down? And a little side story in this is she has Marnie's ledger. Marnianne is her sister who passed away at the beginning of the first book. And you learn that Marnie had some issues, and Marnie was a call girl. She had her license. There was nothing illegal about it. But both of the Valtinis were Marnie's clients, and she did see one of them the week she got pregnant. So it is going to be a roller coaster of a book. I am so excited for this one. It's a year late, and my apologies. My publishing house apologizes. Editingle Indie House has been great trying to get this out, trying to get through this, but post-pandemic and things and all of we all know what it's like. And so the book, it was originally supposed to be out last May and then last November, and then we had to push it because of the things. And anyone who is a publishing author understands that sometimes you just can't get a book out on time. And we all understand this. Margaret asks, some of Anemones Are Blue when the mafia romance goes even darker. Yeah, it does. It does, because Millie is not the only one at risk. Baby Emily is at risk. Camille is at risk. Lloyd puts himself at risk in his overly noble, broody cowboy way. It's just they're working through it. And Millie, poor Millie. She's finally in this really good place, and she and Lloyd have settled on just being friends. And the guy who saved her from drowning in book 1 has come back into her life. Her giant Viking savior who rescued her from drowning with his emerald green eyes and his beautiful auburn beard. He is back in the picture, and Millie's just, she's in this place where she's kind of settled into her grieving, but now she has to face this fear. And that's a hard thing to do, because when you're a person who's always kept your head down, being a mother spurs her into, I've got to do this even if I don't live through it. So, And you can tell my energy. I'm so excited about this book. I am so excited about this book, and the cover is beautiful. And I am so grateful to Editingle Indie House for staying with this series, because they're not popular topics. Overcomer fiction is not a popular type of women's contemporary fiction. And it's hard for most people, because while you're reading this, you're facing your own demons. You're facing the demons of someone you know. And that's a very important message for me, is to get out that there are people who have gone through these things before. There are things that you can overcome. You can make it through, because there are other people who have made it through. And even if you see someone making it through in fiction, that will bleed into your subconscious. And that it goes back to one of my favorite scenes in the whole book. And let me find it and share it with you. Share screen. Yeah, I know. Okay. We are looking up Murder Mafia. And so Millie, because her friend lost her husband, she gave up part of her therapy times so her friend could get in with her therapist to deal with her grief. And Millie's been skipping therapy sessions. But all of the stress with the Valtini murder mafia, the Valtinis having her back in, she finally has this crack moment where she's like, she needs to call Margot. And so she's like talking to Margot, and Margot says, let's see, go back up. Millie says, I don't feel brave, Millie admitted. I feel like I'm going to get everyone I love killed, just like before. Your siblings' death and your step-parents' deaths were not your fault. They were the actions of your biological mother, who obviously had some kind of sociopathy. Marnianne's behavior wasn't your fault either. Do you want to go back to weekly or bi-weekly appointments until this situation is resolved? Margot offered. Millie wanted to say no, but she knew better. The last 4 months were too stressful with the constant roller coaster of fear. Bi-weekly would be fine, thank you. I'm sorry I didn't call sooner. Well, we have been down to 1 appointment a month, and between remembering the death anniversaries and birthdays of Charlie, Marnie, your step-parents, and Edgar, you've had plenty to talk about without bringing up a cake-addicted murder mafia. Millie giggled at her therapist's characterization of the Valtini Mafia. She slapped her hand over her mouth. I'm sorry. See, your monsters don't have the power you fear. I'll email you with some times. Good night, Millie. Sleep well. I just love that scene. I love that scene. I love the fact that Margot she's such a good therapist, and she finds a way to diffuse Millie's fear. And yes, please send me your tears for my roses. I live in a drought area. But it's Millie really, I mean, she is dealing with some very dangerous people and some very dangerous situations. But the other thing is she needs perspective, because in the beginning you see that she is still looking at the Valtinis as these big monsters through the eyes of her childhood. And you know, they are the monsters that her biological mother brought into her world, that her adopted sister brought back into her world. And now she's trying so hard. And it's when you face overcoming fears, when you face something that seems like there's no way I can't face this and everything, it becomes a way to transform not just how you see things, but every essential element of someone's soul. And you see Millie changing through this. You see her becoming braver. You see her becoming stronger. She's already gone through grieving Marnie and Edward and dealing with losing her son, Charlie, and just pushing through grief after grief after grief. And you see her when she's getting to where she's facing the Valtinis. And when it comes down to that, she doesn't overtly like attack them or start yelling and screaming and ranting at them. She knows better than that. She doesn't want to end up dead, but she does the work. She goes to Katy. She helps her get the evidence. She starts looking for them on her own. She starts trying to keep track of them. She sends Emily and Elizabeth away with Jackson and Mitchell, her best friends, to keep them safe, because she knows they will come back, because they are the cake-addicted murder mafia. So Millie takes a lot of chances in this, but she isn't like your typical heroine. She doesn't, she doesn't throw this big thing about, like, what was it? I was reading some book. I think it was The Mob Boss's Chosen One. It was one of the mafia ones, and the girl in it that was so terrified, she just freaks out and starts screaming and yelling and throwing things, and suddenly they respect her. Well, that's not Millie in this case. Millie, she's smart about it. She plays it smart because she knows these are murderers. These are rapists. These are sex traffickers. These are men that life has zero value to them. And it's really, really, I love the way Millie grows in this. I love how much, even though she is still little 5 foot tall Baker Millie, she's standing up to Goliath. Okay. So, I am going to do a little contest thing right now. Let me find my pencil. Where's my pencil? I can't find my pencil. Never mind. I will use my pen. And so here's a little bit of mythology trivia for all of you in here. Okay. Now, the person that gets this right, I will send you an EPUB copy of the book for free. So my question for you is, what mythology has to do with anemones? Very, very famous myth story about love lost. Come on, Jenna. I know you know this, Jenna. The goddess of love wept over her most handsome beloved, and these flowers sprung up from the ground. The anemones sprung up from the ground. What mythology? And of course, Jenna gets it. She talks about the zephyrs. The zephyr winds. And it was Aphrodite. So, okay. All right. I promise we will have a less difficult question later for the second ebook giveaway. All right. I need another section to read. So a number between 3 and 317. The reason I use anemones in the books is because the story of the windflowers is that the anemones, and this is actually in several different mythologies, they talk about how anemones are the storm flowers. That when you see the petals of the anemone closing during the day, that means there is a storm coming. And usually they're right. Flowers are more accurate than the weather guy. But what anemones will do is they will wrap their flowers, the petals of their flowers, around the center of themselves to protect their pollen. And then once the rain has passed, they will open back up. And so it's they're amazing flowers. The actual physiology of the flowers closing and opening is very similar to what happens with Venus flytraps. It has to do with vascular expansion and dilation to make them open and close. But they are sensitive to barometric pressure. Let's see. All right. I need someone to pick a number between page 3 and page 317. Megan. Megan says 7. Okay. Let's go back to here. Oh, wait, that's the wrong copy. Hold on a second. All right. All right. All right, page 7. On the 13th of December, Millie went home to prepare a cake while Molly stayed with the Harpers in Vegas for the New Year's holiday. Molly was happy to keep Emily and watch over Elizabeth for the extra 2 days while Millie did her first destination caking for velvet anemone cakes. It was a lie. She had told it to keep her family and friends safe. Early New Year's Eve morning in Pagosa Cliffs, Millie obediently boarded the plane she thought would take her to Vegas for the Valtini party. Instead, it flew her and the cakes she made but had not decorated to another mountain town. She was sure she was still in Colorado because they had been airborne less than 35 minutes. Once they landed, the co-pilot escorted her and several young women to a windowless van. They were driven to a chalet-style mansion. Looking around as she went into the house, she didn't recognize any of the peaks she could see above the trees. For the rest of the day, she assembled the cake and decorated it, and then instructed the scantily clad women dressed as fairies with blue butterfly wings on how to properly serve it properly as a caterer prepared hors d'oeuvres and dinner. Later that evening, she was cleaning up, and she thought about the blue butterfly wings over Emily's bed. She now knew where they came from and wondered if the blue butterfly heels had come from the Valtinis too. Thinking about Marnie's ledger while she wiped the counters, she remembered Giovanni's page only said the blue things and fake tattoo. She was finishing when a drunken man staggered into the kitchen and accosted her. "Hello, gorgeous. You got me cooking." Holding out her hands, Millie backed away as he cornered her. "Look, I'm just Mr. Valtini's personal baker. I'm not part of the entertainment. You should be. The intoxicated man pinned her against the counter. Stop, get off me, she cried, to be left alone as she pushed against him. Suddenly, he was lying on the floor in a heap. Millie didn't know if he was dead or just unconscious, as a silent Giovanni took her by the arm to a guest room and locked her in. His empty, dark eyes looked her up and down, then said, "Stay here. Good night." Good night, Mr. Valtini, Millie stammered, not knowing whether to be grateful or terrified or both. He nodded, then closed the door. Her overnight bag sat in a chair. No one came. She couldn't leave, so after midnight, she changed into her pajamas and fell into an exhausted sleep. She woke at dawn and dressed, then sat on the bed because the door was still locked. Early in the morning on New Year's Day, instead of being taken to the airport, Giovanni brought her into the kitchen. "I will wait for my family's white velvet cake to be made, Millie." "Yes, Mr. Valtini." Millie mixed, then baked the cakes. She made vanilla frosting and white chocolate and frangelico ganache, offering him a single spoonful of each. While the cakes cooled in the freezer, she made white chocolate buttercream roses and then decorated the cake with the roses and her signature filigree. The whole 2 hours, Giovanni sat silently and watched her with his dead, dark eyes. Finally, after having the first bite of one slice, he looked at her and smiled, making her blood run cold and her soul shrink away. It took every ounce of control she had not to flee back upstairs to her room or cower like a timid rabbit before a ravenous wolf. "You are the only baker I have ever found that can make this cake as my grandmother did. You always make them beautiful. Your cakes are one of the few things in life that brings me close to happiness. Because of it, I will let no harm come to you. It was my comfort in prison, a place they wish to send me back to. But I will not go back, even if it means I will never have one of your lovely cakes again. Do you understand, Milli Vanilli Velvet Haywood?" His voice was so deep, it didn't sound like it came from a person, but from some demon who escaped hell to torment her. What do you think of that scene? Okay, Paget says, page 19. Page 19. Yeah, Giovanni is a terrifyingly just presence, just dark presence. But his behavior sometimes, it doesn't seem to make sense with how just emotionless and just terrifying he is. He could kill her with like just squeezing his hand. Okay. Page 19. Okay. I'm going to start reading on actually just above on page 18. Millie looked at the clock. "Kit Kat, the time." Katy looked up at her. "Oh, crap. Sorry. Let's go." "What are you going to do?" Millie asked as they made their way back to the car. "This is my first solid lead on Giovanni since Giovanni was in New York. He has disappeared, and I know Donnie helped him. I think he is hiding in Colorado somewhere. There is a part-time job for a CSI in Durango, and the state lab wants someone down there too, so I might be moving again. Do you want to stay at the Anemone? Millie offered. No. If they are already watching you, having me there would be like painting the blood spatter on the walls before they come to kill us both. I want you to keep doing what you are doing, like nothing else is going on. Don't tell anyone you know me or have seen me, not even Mitch and Jackson. I'll check out this Mac Beal and who he works for. I'll get Emily's DNA sorted. Katie's stomach rumbled loudly, but instead of looking embarrassed, she laughed. Come on, I'll take you for a late lunch before I put you back on a plane. More like high tea, Millie pointed out. Tea and crumpets isn't a meal, or even a decent snack. Katie snorted in amusement. Don't forget, I'm an avid supporter of the Hobbit meal schedule. Whatever, Kit Kat. Laughing, Millie shook her head. She'd never met anyone, man or woman, who could eat like Katy Housan. Whatever yourself, Trollina. Cops need more food than donuts, Katie taunted. Have you had Whataburger yet? What's that? Millie shook her head. The only reason I would move to Texas, but they have them here, so no humidity or mosquitoes for me. Laughing at herself again, Katie invited, come on, lunch is on me. Yes, we have Whataburger in Colorado, and yes, we are very, very, very happy about it. Whataburger. Yes, we all love Whataburger. Right now, Whataburger has this thing that I am addicted to. It is a Dr. Pepper malt. It's awesome. Yeah, we painting the blood spatter before. Yeah, that's the kind of danger that they're in, and that's why Katie tells her. You know, Katie's father was actually murdered by Giovanni and Donnie's father. So Katie really, really, even though she's a cop and her dad was a cop, her whole family's cops. They know how dangerous the Valtinis are, and the reason that Donnie is not locked up and that Giovanni got out is because Katie lost her temper after one of Donnie's victims killed themselves, and she punched him while he was handcuffed and broke his jaw. So this is kind of her making amends for them escaping. Oh, the Dr. Pepper milkshakes, yes, they're amazing. You can get it as a milkshake or a malt. I like it as a malt. I am a fan of malts. So absolutely. If you are near a Whataburger, if you are traveling within the area of a Whataburger, have a Dr. Pepper malt from Whataburger. I highly recommend them because I still can't hardly find Bluebell ice cream up here, and Bluebell ice cream is my favorite. And now they have Bluebell Dr. Pepper float ice cream. So that's amazing. And you can tell in reading, I love writing the foodie stuff, all the foodie stuff. Writing Millie, one of the things about writing Millie is my grandfather and grandmother, they liked velvet cakes, and so they made several different velvet cakes. And having the velvet cakes is amazing, and making them, all the different ones, and testing them, and then getting to put the recipes in the back of the books. That's one of the fun parts of being an author, is testing all the recipes before I put them in the book to make sure they taste good, because you got to test the recipes, got to make all those different kinds of cakes. Okay, we have time for one more section. And so I need one more number. One more. I need one more number. Or do you want to hear about Giovanni and the dogs? It's nothing bad, I promise. Giovanni loves dogs. Ooh, or I could read you the part about Millie under the aquarium. Okay, quick survey. Giovanni and the dogs or Millie and the aquarium? Okay, we have one for Giovanni and the dogs. Okay. All right. Giovanni walked across the snow-covered yard to a dark house on the Ridgeline Ranch, knowing no one was home. An air gun with tranquilizer darts had the 2 Australian shepherds asleep in minutes. He picked them up and placed them on the porch before breaking in. He missed his dogs, the way they followed him faithfully, but also the way they fought and killed other dogs was so beautiful. It was their purpose. Like these dogs, whose purpose was to herd cattle and help make sure his favorite food survived long enough to make it to his plate. He hated to interrupt their work. Dogs were so much easier to deal with than people. The only exception was his family's baker. He also hated people like his cellmate Ron, pompous, entitled, and worthless. But Ron served a purpose. He gave Geo something new to dream about, someone beautiful to imagine, a woman whose strong spirit, natural beauty, and unique grace enthralled him. He wandered through the rooms of the house, stopping to look at the pictures on the walls. From the bedrooms, he could tell the old lady had been home in the last 2 weeks. 2 of the rooms belonged to teenage girls, and a guest room had teenage girl clothes in the closet. The office held pictures from the war, 2 framed bronze stars and a purple heart, plus pictures of cattle with ribbons. It held history. On the desk was an old computer that held no clues. There were no postcards in the mail basket. He went to the bedroom. His heart somersaulted. Soft tones of blue mimicked a pool. It smelled faintly of chlorine, but mostly of lavender, orchids, and vanilla. A beautiful velveteen dress hung in the closet. He smiled at the fabric. Now I'm going to skip this part because Geo's kind of just, yeah. He's a pervert. So we're going to skip a little bit. Panting and satisfied, he almost fell asleep. He lay there thinking he had no idea where his butterfly was. She was with his cousin's child bride-to-be. He needed to bring them back. He needed to lure them home. Wandering back through the living room, he looked at a picture. Of the 4 females, only one remained within his reach. He knew where she was and what route she would come home. Taking the knitted blanket off the couch, he covered the still sedated dogs on the porch so they would stay warm. He locked the door and left, as if he had never been there. Maybe he would move here. He found her home comfortable, rustic. Gilles lifted the pashmina to his nose and smelled it. He savored her scent mingling with his as he drove back toward town to deal with the grandmother and bring his cousin's little girl home with her guardians. Yeah, Giovanni is disturbing. He has this weird perception about people almost like their property. And he is in the Wallace's home right now, and he has stolen some of Camille's clothing after defiling it. But that is just his mentality. He sees like no problem at all with him moving there after he kidnaps and claims Camille for his own. So it's, yeah, you can, this is how disturbing these men are. And there are, I will tell you that there are warnings throughout my whole book. I do put warnings in my books on certain chapters or in certain places because I don't want my readers, because I write overcomer fiction, I write about traumas and stalkers and bad things that happen to people, and I put warnings in things, grief warnings about child loss, senior family member loss, sibling loss. I put warnings about trauma because I don't want my readers to be reading across that and suddenly get stuck with something that they're not expecting. Because I myself have come across things that are just that, like, I've been reading something and it just was just there, and there was no warning, not in the foreword, not in the dedication, nothing, no warning at all. And then I came across this thing and I was like, well, I'm traumatized. Yay me. So I don't want that for my readers. I'm very careful about that. All right. We have the last question that I have for you is, can you tell me where Pagosa Cliffs is? And for bonus, do you know the real name of the town that it is set in? ESRB covers those things in every other storytelling media. Trigger warnings might cause books to go there too. Yeah. All right. Who knows where Pagosa Cliffs is? You have to know this. And while we're waiting, I am going to go ahead and share for Margaret's stream that is coming up. She is doing her May of the Modern Readathon. If I could spell the word modern, that would be awesome. And there is that link. I'll give you a clue. It's the same state I am in. Yes, Jenna, it's Colorado. All right. Since we have been on for almost an hour, I want to be sure everyone has a break before we all jump over to Margaret's stream. The link to the book is pinned at the top. Hello, Shannon. How are you? Welcome back. I hope you had a very good runabout today. I know you were busy with a lot of things to do. Alrighty, we are just about to actually end here so that everyone gets a break before Margaret's stream starts. She is going to be doing the May of the Modern part of her readathon. I have got the link. There is the link. Always the Stream Hoppers United. And let's see. I need to find the video file to do my outro. All right. Okay, yay, that's done. All right. Thank you everyone for attending my launch today. I am so excited to have this book out. I am so excited that I get to share Milli's story and just to show people that, you know, you can overcome your fears. People can overcome their fears, even fictional characters, without having to go completely crazy and bonkers and you know, do like completely unrealistic things. You can deal with your fears in a rational, realistic manner. And there are trigger warnings in this book. There is the case that Milli is helping Katy work on has to do with the sex assault on a minor. And that is talked about. They talk about Giovanni's past and his murders. They talk about the stalking issue. But I really like the way that I end the book because the girl gets justice. And that is a very, very important thing for me to share in these stories, is to make sure that the victim does get some kind of justice for this. And because so many times they don't. So many times in the real world they don't. And so for this story, it's important for me for this to show. And you know, things are difficult. Crime affects so much more than just the one person that is the victim. It affects family members. It affects choices they make. It affects decisions they make. And it is very important that, especially as women, that if another woman starts to say this happens, that we say, I believe you, talk to me. Maybe I can't help you. Let me see if I can help you find someone to help you. That's one of the things that I very, very much believe in, and I'm very strong about. And in the Pagosa Cliffs series, they do deal with some difficult topics. They do have some very hard things that come up, things with grief, things with trauma, things with overcoming. And, you know, a fiction becomes a coping mechanism. Fiction becomes an avenue to seeking help. And as I told Shannon in the interview that I did with her, the greatest reward that I ever had was when the first time I put Blue Waters and Blue Butterflies onto Wattpad and Inkit. I got a PM from someone who said, this happened to me. I've never told anyone. I think I need help. I think I need to talk to someone about it. And to have someone saying that they were to a place where they realized that they needed to get some therapy about it, that is the best feeling. And that's why I write these difficult books. And they're not popular fictions, and I don't expect to ever be like some bestseller list anywhere. But I want to write these books so that women can understand that what they're going through, they're not alone. What they're going through, that they weren't the only ones. And so here is the book. I hope that you enjoy this. Thank you so much, Shannon. I hope you enjoy the book. I've got the trigger warnings in it because that's the thing I fight with my editors for, is I want the trigger warnings in the books on the chapters, because yeah. So thank you very much for coming. I hope that you all have a very lovely day, and I'll see everybody over on Margaret's stream.